Hi folks, John Cordisco here with the much anticipated FIDE World Candidates Final Tournament currently being played in Russia. 8 great players, 3 former world champions. It's going to be a great match. The winner of this match plays Magnus Carlsen for the World Championship. Don't miss any of this action. Hi folks, John Cordisco back again with another great chess video for you. This is round 13 of the long-anticipated FIDE Candidates Final Tournament, currently being played in Russia. This is kind of a grudge match game between Vladimir Kramnik, former world champion as white, and Veselin Topalov as black, former world champion. If you remember, Topalov accused Kramnik of cheating in their championship match, and so they don't even speak. They don't shake hands at the beginning of the game. They don't even go to the same press conference. That battle all these years is still going on, unfortunately. Kramnik is white, Topalov is black. Let's get to it. It's a semi-Slav. I'll breeze through the opening fairly quick here. We all seen this a bunch of times. Here we have it. Got my Fritz 13 computer on off screen. It shows about a 3/4 point advantage for white. Nothing unusual. Bishop G7, castles. Now this is going to be a problem, this pushed up pawn here, because if you notice that white is missing their dark squared bishop, so that makes that a whole lot safer right there on h6. Knight to e5, c5, c takes, c takes, e takes, e takes. Interesting. Now they both have an isolated d pawn. We'll have to see how this works out. Rook to e1, bishop e6. Black's trying to get his rest of his minor pieces developed. Bishop b5. I think that's mostly to, because it wasn't a very good place for that bishop, but it also guards this square here, stopping that rook from coming there. Rook to d8. Rook to c1. I like white's position here. And the computer bears that out. It's a little over a point advantage. Even though I'd have to say white is down what I call the minor exchange, because black has the bishop pair. a6. Kick the bishop. Bishop comes back. Rook to d6. Interesting move. Now, of the top 3 moves of the computer, the first one is b5, just to chase the bishop even further, and then rook to d6. He chooses to go, Topalov chooses to go rook to d6 first, queen to b3, and you can see the computer did that. What is eyeballing that d5 pawn? Pretty funny. b6. Knight to e2. b5. Now notice queen goes to a3. Hitting the rook. And if black takes, white takes the rook. So the bishop is not trapped. Bishop f8. Bishop c2. Knight to c6. Queen moves all the way on the other side of the board to g3. Rook to c8. h4. Knight to e7. He's trying to bring that knight back around here. h5. Just disrupting those pawns in general. Black, of course, has to push. There's no way he can take it. And there's no way he can leave it either. So he has to push. f4. Just open up that position even further. Queen to g7. It's a little over a point advantage for white. Black's backed up a little bit, but he should be okay. Rook to f1, just to put pressure on the f-file and the king. f6. Knight to g4. Now this is awful tight around that king side. And I'll tell you the truth, it gets crazy like that. Even one minor mistake can cost you dearly. Knight to g4. Now there's a tiny advantage, believe it or not, according to the computer, for black. Rook, doubling up the rooks. Knight to e3, protecting the bishop on c2. f5. What to do? F takes. Queen takes. Queen takes. Pawn takes. Now the queens are off the board, so the attack isn't nearly as difficult for black to handle here. We're going to exchange some pieces here. Black takes pawn, knight takes, rook takes rook, rook takes, knight takes, rook to c2. He's going to let the knight sit there. He wants the other knight instead. Actually, he's after the knight to make him move, but he's also after the pawns on A and B for white. Knight protects the other knight. Rook takes, rook to e1. After rook to e1, bishop to d7. If bishop had taken f5, knight takes g4, king to h2. Might have been a little better for black, but this is a weird position to be sure. The material is technically even, but the pawns are scattered everywhere. I mean, might as well say all of white's pawns are isolated. 3 out of the 4. All of basically black's pawns are too. Once these pawns start moving forward, this is a crazy position. Knight to e7. Now this is where I think Topalov goes wrong. Computer suggests king to g7 was basically an even game. King to f7. Question mark. Knight takes the pawn. Bishop c6. Rook to a2 doesn't really work because after rook to f1 check, king to g7, h6 check, and king takes and rook takes, and that's it. Black loses. After bishop to c6, rook to f1, king to e6, knight to e3, bishop g7, knight comes up, bishop just comes back. Where else is that bishop going to go? h6, bishop to e4, d5. Those of you that are wondering if black had taken the rook on a2, after bishop takes, knight checks, king to e5, knight takes, king takes, rook to f8, rook to a1 check, king to h2, and of course black is lost, completely lost. That bishop is completely out of play, and frankly there's nothing that black can do to stop white here. After bishop to e4, d5, check, king to d7, knight to g3, bishop d3. I'll tell you the truth, this is a fairly complicated ending. I should say late middle game, early end game. It's fairly complicated. There's a lot to consider here. You got double bishops on one side, double knights on the other. The pawns are scattered all over the place. Interesting. Rook checks. Rook to f3, or excuse me, king to e8. Rook to f3. Rook finally takes that pawn. Right now the computer shows a tiny advantage for white. Knight here. You always see these knights onto each other all the time. The founder of the St. Louis Chess Club in St. Louis, United States, calls those knights codependent. And this is where Topalov really messes it up here. The computer calls for bishop takes f5 or rook to a1 check. There's the two moves. He goes rook to d2. And white's advantage jumps to almost 3 points immediately. If he went rook to a1 after king to f2, rook, king, bishop takes, knight takes, king to d7, and I think black holds on here. After rook to d2, king to g7 check, king to e7, d6, king takes, rook to f8, b4, rook takes the bishop, b3, knight checks, another blunder, bishop takes f5, king to c7 was the move. He'll be down by a point or so, but he might be able to salvage the draw. After bishop takes, knight takes check, king to c7, 8-7, and it's over. b2, rook to c8 check, king takes, queen checks, king to d7, and queen to h7 check. And that's where Veselin Topalov, former world champion, resigns. I forgot when they played their first game in this tournament what happened. I don't remember the result. But Kramnik in part got some revenge back on Topalov. Both of them, of course, were out of the tournament to win it. Looks like Vishy's going to take this tournament and get a rematch with Magnus Carlsen. I have the 14th round coming with Vishy coming up on the next video. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. I want you all to remember, if you think chess is just a game, you're not playing it right. Take care, folks. Bye-bye.